They say every hero has a moment when their world stops turning. For Spider-Man, that moment had a name. Gwen Stacy. Before she became a symbol of heartbreak, she was something else entirely. The light that kept Peter Parker human in a world that demanded a mask. But no one, not even Peter, could have guessed how deeply her story would scar the heart of the Marvel Universe. This isn't just a love story. It's the story of innocence lost, of choices that define destiny, and of a single night that shattered everything Spider-Man believed in. Stick around till the end, because by the time this story ends, you'll understand why her death changed comics forever. And hey, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. We dive deep into the stories Marvel tried to make us forget. Long before she became a tragedy, Gwen Stacy was hope. She was the daughter of Captain George Stacy, one of New York's most respected police officers. She was smart, independent, and full of confidence, the kind of woman who saw something real in the awkward science nerd sitting alone in class. At Empire State University, Peter Parker wasn't exactly Mr. Popular. Still haunted by the loss of Uncle Ben, burdened by the secret of being Spider-Man, Peter tried to keep everyone at a distance. Until Gwen walked in. Their chemistry was instant. Not because she loved the hero, she didn't even know the mask existed yet, but because she saw the boy beneath it. For the first time since Uncle Ben's death, Peter laughed again. He wasn't Spider-Man fighting crime. He was Peter Parker, holding Gwen Stacy's hand under the soft light of the university library. But love stories in the Marvel Universe never stay simple. Because behind every heartbeat, fate was sharpening its knife. While Peter and Gwen's love grew stronger, so did Spider-Man's list of enemies. And among them, none were more dangerous than Norman Osborn, the man who would become the Green Goblin. Osborn wasn't just another villain. He was Peter's worst nightmare, intelligent, ruthless, unpredictable. And the cruel twist? He was also the father of Peter's best friend, Harry Osborn. As Spider-Man's battles escalated, Peter's double life began to poison his relationship with Gwen. He'd vanish for hours, miss dates, return bruised and battered. Gwen didn't know why, but she knew something was breaking between them. Then, tragedy struck. During one of Spider-Man's fights, a stray piece of falling debris killed Captain George Stacy. Peter held him in his arms as the man's life faded away. And with his final breath, Captain Stacy whispered something Peter would never forget. Take care of Gwen, like she was your own. Peter did everything he could to keep that promise. But fate wasn't done with him yet. In the months that followed, Gwen's grief deepened. She blamed Spider-Man for her father's death. Every time she saw that red and blue suit swinging above the city, pain twisted in her chest. She didn't know the cruel irony, that the man she loved was the same hero she despised. And Peter? He carried the unbearable weight of that secret. He wanted to tell her. He wanted to scream the truth, that Spider-Man didn't kill her father, that he was only trying to save lives. But he feared losing her even more. Their relationship became fragile, a web of lies and half-truths holding together a love that was already falling apart. And somewhere in the shadows, the Green Goblin watched. He had discovered Spider-Man's true identity, and he knew exactly where to strike to destroy him, not through battle, but through heartbreak. Norman Osborn had a plan, and that plan would lead to one of the darkest nights in comic book history. Peter Parker thought he had faced loss before, but what was coming next would make every tragedy before it feel small. Because when the Green Goblin made his move, Gwen Stacy would become the price of being Spider-Man. It was supposed to be an ordinary night in New York City, but for Peter Parker, that night would become a nightmare carved into history. The Green Goblin had struck again, only this time, it wasn't about power or money or control. It was personal. Norman Osborn knew Spider-Man's identity. He knew about Gwen Stacy. And in one cruel act, he decided to take away everything Peter loved. It started at the Brooklyn Bridge. Spider-Man arrived to find Gwen unconscious, lying motionless on the edge of the steel framework, her blonde hair swaying in the wind. And standing over her was the Green Goblin. "Welcome, Spider-Man," the Goblin sneered, his glider hovering in the moonlight. "So glad you could make it. I thought we could discuss what happens when you cross me." Peter's blood turned cold. Every muscle tensed. This wasn't just another villain. This was Norman Osborn, a man who knew exactly how to break him. "Let her go, Osborn," Peter shouted, his voice trembling between fury and fear. But Norman just laughed. That twisted, echoing laugh that only a madman could produce. "Oh, I intend to. Spider-Man. The question is, can you catch her in time?" And before Peter could react, the goblin let go. Time slowed. Gwen's body dropped from the bridge, her arms weightless, her hair catching the moonlight like gold threads unraveling in the wind. Peter dove instantly, instincts faster than thought. He fired a web. It snapped through the night like lightning, wrapping around Gwen's ankle. For a moment, everything stopped. She hung there, suspended in the darkness. He caught her. He actually caught her. But then, the sound. Snap. A sound that still haunts readers half a century later. The sound that changed everything. Spider-Man pulled her back up, calling her name over and over. "Gwen. Gwen, wake up." But she didn't move. Her head tilted, her eyes closed, her body still. Peter's heart stopped. He whispered, "No. No. No. No." He didn't know it yet, but that snap, that tiny, brutal sound, was her neck breaking from the whiplash of his web line. In trying to save her, he had killed her. The goblin floated above, smirking down. Romantic, isn't it? A hero, a damsel, and gravity. Peter's scream echoed through the night. Pure rage, pure sorrow. He attacked the goblin with everything he had. Every punch was filled with grief. Every web shot screamed vengeance. "You killed her," Peter roared. "You killed the woman I love." But Osborn only laughed. To him, it was victory. He had finally made the hero suffer. Their battle tore through the bridge. Webs, pumpkin bombs, shattered concrete, chaos in every direction. Spider-Man could have killed him. He wanted to. Every cell in his body screamed for revenge. But at the last second, he stopped. Because killing him wouldn't bring Gwen back. And maybe, deep down, Peter knew Gwen wouldn't have wanted that. The goblin fled, cackling into the night, his glider roaring through the smoke. Peter held Gwen in his arms, whispering her name like a prayer. The city lights blurred through his tears. For the first time, Spider-Man failed. Not because he wasn't fast enough, but because being a hero didn't save the one person who mattered most. The morning light revealed the truth of that night. The broken bridge, the silent girl, the hero on his knees. The newspapers would call it an accident. The police would blame Spider-Man. The world would move on. But Peter Parker never did. He buried her with trembling hands. And when he placed that final flower on her grave, he made a silent promise. "No one else dies because of me." That promise would define the rest of his life. Every choice, every battle, every heartbreak after. Because in losing Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker didn't just lose love. He lost innocence. Peter walked away from that bridge as a different man. Not the wisecracking kid from Queens, but a hero forged in grief. And somewhere, in the silence of that bridge, you can almost hear it. The faint echo of a web line snapping, and a heart breaking forever. The night Gwen Stacy died didn't just change Spider-Man. It changed comic books forever. That moment, her fall, the snap, the heartbreak, marked the end of the Silver Age of comics. Because before Gwen, heroes always won. They always saved the girl. Good triumphed. Evil fell. But not this time. This time, the hero lost everything. In the days that followed, Peter barely slept. He saw Gwen's face in every reflection, heard her laughter in every empty room. He replayed that moment on the bridge over and over, thinking, if I had aimed lower, if I had been faster. The guilt was unbearable. He'd been Spider-Man to protect the people he loved. But now, his love was dead because of Spider-Man. When Mary Jane Watson came to visit him after the funeral, Peter could barely look at her. He shouted, "Curse the mask." He told her to leave. But instead of walking out, Mary Jane closed the door and stayed. She didn't say much. She just sat with him. And for the first time, Peter realized that grief doesn't vanish. It only becomes a part of you. Days later, Peter found out the Green Goblin was still alive. And for the first time, he wasn't thinking about justice. He wanted vengeance. He tracked Norman Osborn down to one of his secret warehouses, webs still stained from the battle on the bridge. When the two finally faced each other again, the city went silent. Peter didn't hold back. He slammed Osborn through steel walls, tore apart his glider, ripped off his mask. "You took her from me," Peter shouted, his voice raw and shaking. "You destroyed everything." Osborn, bruised and bleeding, only grinned. "You did this to yourself, Parker. You and your little crusade." Peter grabbed him by the throat. For a second, he almost gave in. He could end it. Right there, right then. But then he stopped. Because he heard Gwen's voice in his mind. Soft. Gentle. The girl who believed Peter Parker was better than the pain he carried. He dropped Osborn. Walked away. But fate wasn't finished. As Spider-Man turned his back, the Green Goblin lunged forward, his glider's razor tips aimed straight for Peter's heart. Peter spun around at the last second, and in a twist of poetic justice, the glider impaled Norman Osborn instead. The goblin's body crashed to the ground, lifeless. The monster who had taken Gwen was finally gone. But Peter didn't feel victory, only emptiness. Gwen's death didn't just break Peter. It reshaped who Spider-Man was. He stopped fighting to prove something. He started fighting because the world needed him to. Every time he saved someone falling from a building. Every time he caught a person just in time. He remembered Gwen. And though the world kept moving, she remained frozen, forever young, forever gone. Even Mary Jane, who would later become his greatest love, knew she could never replace Gwen. Because Gwen Stacy wasn't just a person in Peter's life, she was a defining moment in his soul. Writers and fans still debate what that snap meant. Was it a mechanical flaw of Spider-Man's web? Or a symbol that even the best intentions can cause the greatest pain? Whatever it meant, one thing was clear. From that moment on, superheroes could fail. They could lose. They could break. And that realism changed the comic world forever. Years later, Peter would revisit that same bridge. The wind felt the same. The city still buzzed below. But the silence in his heart was louder than ever. He whispered, "I'm sorry, Gwen." And as he swung away, the camera of memory lingered. On that empty bridge, on the space where hope once stood. The world had moved forward. But Spider-Man never truly did. Because Gwen Stacy wasn't just another casualty. She was the moment innocence died. She was the shadow behind every heroic act he ever performed afterward. Years later, Gwen would return, or at least a version of her would. Clone conspiracies, alternate universes, even Spider-Gwen, the hero from Earth, 65, would rise from the idea of what Gwen could have been if she had lived. But no matter how many versions appeared, none could erase the pain of that night. Because every Spider-Man across every multiverse carries that one memory. The moment a girl in a green jacket fell from the bridge, and the hero who loved her couldn't save her. Gwen Stacy's death wasn't just the end of a love story. It was the beginning of comic book realism. It proved that even heroes bleed. Even icons fall. And that sometimes, the ones who shape us most are the ones we couldn't save.